So today I spoke with my fourth architect, and throughout this process, what I've learned so far is every single time you speak with someone, you hear something completely different. I'm not sure why, if that's just because of the everyone's standard of working. In my mind, I'm thinking like it's the same building. You guys have to work with the same city code. So I'm not sure why is it always some type of different information. Granted, it is useful for me because every time I speak with someone else, I get something more that I never necessarily thought about. Because you don't think about certain things until you're in the situation. So I spoke with my fourth architect today, and the conversation was pretty good. He seemed like a really warm person. Seems pretty capable. I mean, I won't know until I get more information from him, but I could insert a clip of our conversation because I did record bits and pieces of it.
Building permit in order to build it.
Yeah.
That's what I'll do. And then I'll say, this is how much it's going to cost, and this is how you pay it. And then once if that looks good to you,
Yeah.
then we will start the design, and I can make this last a long time or a short time. But the design, what I like to do is I'll come out and measure this whole space to make sure I know exactly what the size is.
Yeah.
And then I'll give you 3 completely different designs.
Okay.
We'll have an entrance over here, we'll have an entrance over here, it'll all be different. We'll talk about all the details of it. And then once I look at those 3 designs, you'll say, on design 1, I like the door. On design 2, I like the bedroom. Design 3, I like the kitchen. And then we'll smash them into one design.
Okay.
And then we'll kind of fiddle it around. And then with that design, then I'll make blueprints from
So the designs would all be floating around my idea,
Always.
giving you.
Come up with a design, right? So how do we meet or come below the budget, right?
Okay.
That's the goal. How do we do that?
Yeah.
We can do that. So we have to, there's things you have to have. You have to have walls, right?
Yeah.
You have to have plumbing,
Yeah.
electrical, mechanical. There's some things you have to have.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have ceramic tile everywhere, right? You don't have,
Yeah.
not at all. But you'll still insulate some area of the footprint.
Okay. And also the insulating the floor, right?
There's some things we can look at, yeah, with the floor. I think you're gonna want to. Do you ever get water in here? But
Yeah, I spoke with him. It was pretty brief. What he was saying, seeing that I'm on my fourth architect, it wasn't anything that was new. What he was saying, except for the back of the building, he was saying that with the space behind it, I might have to dig a trench. Seeing that my garage is on a incline, or is that a decline? Yeah, it slopes down. So he's saying that the fact that rain falls, there might be a chance that the water runs from the neighbor's house under the ground and might be soaking into the garage somewhere, because he did ask me if I saw water in the garage. So he's saying at the back of the garage I might have to dig a trench to waterproof it, and then I can proceed. This is the back area where the architect from today was saying to me that I might have to dig a trench. I'm not sure how that's going to be possible because the garage is pretty much facing that space right there. It's so tight right here. But he was saying to dig a trench and then waterproof the outside part just in case, as you can see, the slope right here, just in case the groundwater or the rainfall makes water pool into the garage. He also pointed out the crack right there, saying that I should look in the garage whenever rain falls and make sure that there's no water seeping through from there. I've never seen water, but just to make sure, I'm gonna keep checking once the rain falls. But that's the part that he was talking about, digging the trench and waterproofing it. That's one new thing that he told me. Overall, everything was the same. We did speak about the roof. I wouldn't say the first architect, but my second architect wanted me to take the entire roof off. He's saying that these boards right here are 2x4, and therefore they're too small to have insulation. Granted, all the architect came said the same thing, but my second architect wanted me to take the entire roof off and do the whole roof over, because he's saying as you're replacing these 2x4 with 2x8 or 2x10, which is the standard for insulation, it's gonna compromise the structure of every other board, like shifting it and stuff with the construction. So he's saying it's better to rip the whole roof off and do a whole new roof from scratch. No disrespect to him, because it's not like that's my professional area or anything, but to me that didn't really make any sense. We just did this roof, at least the top of it, and the main house roof like 7 years ago. So I'm not sure why I would have to take it all off. And as I'm doing my research, I see that they say there's something called sistering, where you put the bigger board beside the smaller board and then you put the insulation in. So in my mind, I was thinking, why can't we do that versus taking the whole roof off? But that's just one architect. That's why I proceeded to look into other architects. So that's one architect out of 4 architects that I've spoken with so far that mentioned taking off the entire roof. Everyone else said about just replacing the smaller boards with bigger boards. The next thing was, what was it? Was the roof. Spoke about that. The footing, I found that. Sewer line and water line. I actually know where the sewer line would run, so for me it would have to be through the grass and to the side. So that was sorted out. The next concern was power. So calling UI, finding out what wattage I need to upgrade to, and having them come and do that to put a whole new breaker, so I'm not on the main floor, breaker box on the main floor light. The roofing people did give me quite a bit of information too. Like they explained to me how the framing would affect the expected width of the house that I'm of the space that I'm using. Also, even with framing, insulating the floor, how much height I would lose on the floor. In my mind though, speaking with the architect today, I did ask him about the floor. I asked him if I have to, how would the insulation of the floor look like? He was pretty vague. He didn't, I asked him specifically if I'm going to lose, how much inches would I lose, or if I would lose 1 foot. And he was like, the insulating the floor, right?
There's some things we can look at, yeah, with the floor. I think you're gonna want to. Do you ever get water in here?
So him doing that made me wonder if there's another way to insulate the garage floor without framing it in and losing an extra inch. So I think I'm gonna do more research and look into that, to see if I can insulate the floor the way how you would insulate a basement floor without necessarily losing any height. Because the more you build on the floor, the less distance you have for your head. And I need all the distance I can get. I don't want to feel boxed in. The space is already so small. I'm wondering if I should speak with any more, because that would make 6 architects in total. But at the same time, I spoke to 4 already, and 2 out of those 4 I already eliminated. One didn't seem knowledgeable enough. He was saying too much. I don't think so. I don't think so. Doesn't show much certainty for the amount of money that I need to spend on an architect right now. And the second one is the quote was way too high. He's the guy that was telling me to take the entire roof off. I'm not going there. He wanted 12,000 something. I can't do that, right? So those 2 are already out. So I'm wondering if it makes sense to look into the other 2 architects that are reaching out to me, or just make my decision between the first architect I spoke with along with the architect I spoke with today. Not sure as yet. Gonna keep thinking about it to be certain. So yeah, that's where I'm working at. I would say the next update that I do have is that I spoke with my zoning department, and seeing that the property isn't exactly in my name, it's in my aunt's name, I was asking them if I have to get a notarized letter or something showing proof, or for them to have a record that I have permission to build the house on her property. So I spoke with them, emailed them. They got back to me really fast, and they told me that yes, that would be the wisest decision. So that's my next step, to get the letter notarized with her signature and everything. And I found out that in my area, Bank of America should be able to notarize it for free. So hopefully I can do that without having to take on any extra cost. This is where we're standing right now. Everything looks pretty solid, even though it's built over 100 years ago. And everything looks good enough for now for me to proceed with getting an architect to draft up everything and bring it to the zoning department. So yeah, there we have it. I'm logging today what happened, conversation that I had. Will update you guys as I proceed. Like I said, with every step of the way, I'm gonna log it, make sure I have a record of it so I can look back over it. I want to make sure I can help anyone I can help, because this is becoming a new thing in my area. It's not like in California where it was always a thing. It's just becoming a new thing in my area. So I hope this can help someone who's interested in doing it.